The internet looks simple from the surface. You open a website, you place an order, you send a message, you stream a video, you log into an application. But none of these actions happen by themselves. Behind almost every digital experience is a network of systems quietly moving information, processing transactions, storing data, verifying identities, delivering content, and keeping businesses alive. We see the interface. We rarely see the architecture. And that architecture has become an economy of its own.
The digital economy is not one system. It is a stack. At the top are the experiences people recognize: websites, applications, platforms, online stores, digital media. Underneath them are business systems, customer databases, analytics, communication tools, payment systems. Then come APIs and cloud infrastructure. And beneath even those are physical machines, networks, cables, storage systems, and data centers. Every layer depends on another layer below it. This creates an important economic principle. When the number of businesses built on top of a system increases, demand for the underlying infrastructure increases with them.
Consider what happens when one company moves online. It needs a domain, hosting, payments, customer management, analytics, security, communication, storage, automation. Now imagine thousands of companies doing the same thing, then millions. The result is not simply more websites. It is more demand for the systems underneath them. Every new digital business becomes a potential customer for another digital business, and this creates a powerful secondary economy, an economy that grows not only when consumers spend, but when businesses become more dependent on digital infrastructure. Every digital business carries an infrastructure stock. Some costs are obvious, others are almost invisible. A business pays for the systems that allow it to accept money, communicate with customers, store information, analyze performance, secure access, and automate operations. Individually, these systems may appear small. Collectively, they form a critical operating layer. This is where the economics become interesting. The infrastructure provider does not necessarily need to win the entire customer relationship. It only needs to become valuable enough inside one part of the customer's operation to justify an ongoing relationship. Infrastructure does not always become valuable by doing everything. Sometimes it becomes valuable by doing one difficult thing extremely well. A specialized payment system understands transactions. A security platform understands threats. An analytics system understands information. An automation platform understands workflows. The opportunity appears when specialization solves a problem that generic software cannot solve efficiently. The deeper the system understands the customer's environment, the more useful it can become, and usefulness, when repeated every day, can become operational dependence. One of the biggest changes in digital business is that companies no longer need to build every system themselves. Software can be assembled from components. An application can connect to a payment system, an identity service, a database, a communication layer, an analytics engine, an AI model. Each component can perform a specialized function. This changes the economics of entrepreneurship. The cost of building a digital business can fall when infrastructure becomes modular. But something else happens at the same time. The companies providing those modules become infrastructure suppliers to an expanding ecosystem of other businesses.
Infrastructure has another unusual characteristic. The workload does not stop when the marketing campaign ends. Businesses continue processing orders. Customers continue sending messages. Applications continue making requests. Data continues moving. Systems continue running. That creates a different kind of demand. The customer is not simply purchasing a product. The customer is operating through a system, and as long as the business continues operating, the infrastructure continues performing its function. This is one reason recurring infrastructure businesses can become so powerful. Their demand is connected to activity rather than attention.
But recurring demand alone does not create a moat. Integration can. The longer a system operates inside a business, the more connections it can accumulate. Data flows through it. Employees learn its workflows. Other applications connect to it. Reports depend on it. Customers interact with it. Over time, replacing the system can require more than purchasing another piece of software. It may require changing the surrounding operation. This creates switching friction, not because customers are trapped, but because change has a cost. And infrastructure businesses that become deeply integrated can gain an important economic advantage.
There is another lesson hidden inside infrastructure economics. The best infrastructure often looks boring. Customers do not want their payment system to surprise them. They do not want their database to become interesting. They do not want their security system to attract attention. They want everything to work. Reliability becomes part of the product. In consumer markets, novelty can attract attention. In infrastructure markets, predictability can create trust. And trust can become extremely valuable when failure has operational consequences.
This is where the opportunity becomes practical. Do not begin by asking what website should be built. Look underneath existing businesses. Where does information get copied manually? Where do systems fail to communicate? Where do businesses depend on repetitive work? Where does compliance create complexity? Where does security become difficult? Where does data remain trapped inside disconnected tools? These are infrastructure problems, and infrastructure problems can become business opportunities when the solution removes enough friction to become operationally valuable.
The infrastructure entrepreneur sees the internet differently. They do not only see customers, they see dependencies. They do not only see websites, they see the systems underneath them. They do not only see technology, they see workflows, bottlenecks, recurring demand, switching costs, and operational risk. This creates a different way of finding online business opportunities. Instead of fighting for attention at the top of the stack, you can look for problems underneath it. Because every expanding digital economy eventually needs infrastructure. And infrastructure creates businesses that can grow with the businesses they support.
The internet is often described as a collection of businesses competing for customers. But that is only the visible layer. Underneath it is an enormous architecture of systems that make digital commerce possible. Payments, data, cloud computing, identity, security, APIs, automation, communication, analytics. Every new generation of online businesses increases demand for these systems, and that creates an opportunity most people overlook. You do not always have to build the business that everyone sees. You can build the infrastructure that the visible businesses depend on. Because when an economy becomes digital, its infrastructure becomes a market. The visible internet will continue to change. New platforms will appear. New technologies will replace old ones. New businesses will compete for attention. But underneath those changes, one principle remains. Businesses need systems. They need ways to move money, manage information, communicate with customers, protect data, automate work, and operate at scale. The opportunity is hidden inside those needs, not because infrastructure is glamorous, but because every expanding digital economy eventually needs more of it. And sometimes, the strongest online business is not the one at the center of attention. It is the one quietly keeping everything else running.